Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Well, just as predicted and just as expected, it's finally happening. It's here. Except probably the best part is that it's even better than expected, better than predicted. Kyle Rittenhouse is officially suing the corrupt, lying media. Except it doesn't end there. Kyle Rittenhouse is not only suing the corrupt media that lied about him, lied about a 17-year-old kid for political reasons, all to maintain and preserve their precious narrative, regardless of the fact that they were literally advocating to ruin his life and throw him behind bars for literally the rest of his life in prison. But he's not only suing them and planning on holding them accountable, and every single one of them, and not just the select few, not just a couple networks, but literally all of them. He's also creating a Media Accountability Association. Kyle Rittenhouse plans on creating an organization that won't be only there to serve him for his case, but rather something long-lasting, something long-term that will remain in place with the sole reason of holding the media accountable for their lies, for their slander. This takes it to the next level, folks. This is Nick Sandmann and the Covington kids on crack. On that Hunter Biden crack. Let's just say after the legal precedent was set after the Covington kids, media figures and networks across the board are shaking in their boots, as accountability is clearly coming. Let me show you guys what's going on here. But of course, before we get into any of it, please make sure to leave a like, a comment, subscribe, share the video as much as possible. We are still shadow banned by the YouTube algorithm, hidden from non-subscribed viewers. And with that out of the way, let's roll the tape. Well, folks, just take a look at this headline right over here. Breaking: Kyle Rittenhouse launches project to sue corporate media outlets, celebrities over lies.
Me and my team have decided to launch the Media Accountability Project as a tool to help fundraise and hold the media accountable for the lies they said and deal with them in court. I don't want to see anybody else have to deal with what I went through, so I want to hold them accountable for what they did to me, because I don't want to see anybody have to go through what I went through.
Yeah, I mean, they tried to imprison you for the rest of your life. It wasn't coverage, it was advocacy. You have a lot of potential targets to sue yourself. Will you be suing any of these news organizations, and if so, when?
Well, right now we're looking at quite a few politicians, celebrities, athletes. Whoopi Goldberg's on the list. She called me a murderer after I was acquitted by a jury of my peers. She went on to still say that. And there's others. Don't forget about Cenk from the Young Turks. He called me a murderer before verdict and continues to call me a murderer.
Interesting. And what about the people who called you groundlessly a white supremacist, which makes it pretty hard to get a job for the rest of your life if you're a white supremacist? Will you be responding to them?
Absolutely. We are going to hold everybody who's lied about me accountable, such as everybody who's lied, called me a white supremacist.
Yeah.
They're all going to be held accountable, and we're going to handle them in a courtroom.
Well, there you have it, folks. I'm sure you guys understand what I mean when I say that accountability is coming. He's coming for all of them. From Cenk Uygur to Whoopi Goldberg to various different network talking heads, and possibly even the President of the United States, Joe Biden. All of which, at least from my perspective, are guilty of defamation. The most obvious one is continuing to call him a murderer. As he stated, he was essentially exonerated by a jury of his peers, 12 people unanimously. A 12-person impartial jury came to the verdict that he was not guilty on all charges. Charges of what? Charges of murder. Yet these activist media figures continue to call him a murderer. That has a seriously negative impact on your life. If you're a regular American citizen and you're trying to get a job or you're trying to participate in basic society, and powerful media figures and media entities continue to call you a murderer on live air to tens of millions of people over and over again, well, that has a seriously negative impact on your life. He has a case. And of course, the whole white supremacy angle.
Kyle Rittenhouse, a guy who's deeply racist, went with weapons to a Black Lives Matter protest looking to get in trouble. He did. He murdered a couple of people.
You see the 17-year-old who was radicalized by Trumpism, took his AR-15 to Kenosha and became a killer.
A white, Trump-supporting, MAGA-loving, Blue Lives Matter social media partisan, 17 years old, picks up a gun, drives from one state to another with the intent to shoot people.
Being labeled a white supremacist is probably one of the worst things that you can imagine for your reputation. How do you get a job? Once again, how do you participate in basic society if powerful media entities are constantly labeling you a white supremacist with absolutely no evidence, no proof, to tens of millions of people. It's outrageously unethical. We are talking about textbook defamation of character and reputational harm. And of course, much more egregious than the Covington kid situation, where the damage to Nick Sandmann and his classmates was them possibly not getting into their university of choice. But with the Kyle Rittenhouse situation, we're talking about activist figures in the media playing an active role to taint the jury process, taint the trial in an effort to send this kid to jail for life. And what makes it even worse is that they continue to double down. Even after being acquitted on all charges, they continue to label him a murderer. And they continue to run segments like this.
Well, self-defense is not white supremacy. You're right. Self-defense on its face is not white supremacy. But traveling across state lines with an AR-15 to intimidate people is absolutely white supremacy.
And so when folks say this can't be about racism because the victims are white, no, there have always been white victims of white supremacy.
Making the same false connection between Kyle Rittenhouse's verdict and this idea of white supremacy being legally enabled by the courts and by the justice system. The argument is as disingenuous as it gets. Like we always hear from these media activist figures, it's just white privilege and white supremacy that Kyle Rittenhouse got off. The jury felt bad for him because he was a little white boy, is essentially what they've been arguing. And what the ugly other side of that argument is, essentially what they're saying, is that if Kyle Rittenhouse was black, then he would have been found guilty on all charges. Which of course there's no proof to indicate that that would ever be the case, not to mention the despicable element. Essentially what they're admitting to is that if Kyle Rittenhouse was black and was involved in a clear case of self-defense, he would have been found guilty on all charges regardless of whether or not he was innocent. Therefore, the white kid should also face injustice in the legal system? That's the argument, literally. Black people face discrimination, social injustice, and legal injustice. Therefore, white people should as well, is essentially the argument. And then, of course, add on top of that, but at the same time, he's also a murderer and a white supremacist and actually deserves life in prison. Illogical, irrational, hateful, vindictive, and of course, racially motivated. Kyle Rittenhouse should take them all down. And the best part is, it's not just about Kyle anymore. It's not just the Covington kids. It's this right over here, creating a new organization to hold these media liars accountable indefinitely. Because I could pretty much guarantee you folks, Nick Sandmann and Kyle Rittenhouse will not be the last ones. This will not be the last case of this kind of ugly defamation, this kind of ugly partisanship, and attempted perversion of the justice system. I mean, of course, we know the Democrat track record on this exact issue. I mean, for Pete's sakes, they're still trying to send Donald Trump to jail and pretty much anyone around him in clearly politically motivated investigations. And of course, what is the only thing that will stop them? Money, the dollar sign. What is the only thing that can make these corrupt networks and the people that run them take a step back and think for a second before they defame someone's character and try to taint a jury process and announce somebody as guilty in the court of public opinion? Well, a couple more $250 million lawsuits might actually do the trick. And in the case of Cenk Uygur, as Kyle Rittenhouse named specifically, well, CNN and MSNBC might be able to handle a multi-$100 million lawsuit. The Young Turks, TYT, probably can't. The last investment figure that they received was $20 million. Also, if you look at the numbers, then you know TYT is not really making hundreds of millions of dollars. Let's just say I don't know if they'd be able to take that hit. All I know is that I support Kyle Rittenhouse absolutely in this newest endeavor, because what the media is doing is divisive, destructive, and most importantly, it's wrong. When you turn on your TV, when you read the newspaper, or when you follow stories online, you should be receiving ethical, neutral journalism, telling you the facts of the case, rather than manufacturing your own facts for the case. And the hateful, divisive, racially charged rhetoric has to stop. Here's the most recent example from Joy Reid's show on MSNBC. Eli Mistel, or Ellie Mistel, whatever his name is, Kim Porter's 2-year sentence shows that this country hates black people.
Joy, this country hates us. This country hates black people, and we know it. We talk about it. We joke about it. We know what we're up against. But sometimes that hatred that this country has for us really comes out and just takes your breath away, just grabs you by the neck and just takes your breath away. And today, Judge Regina Chu was that hatred, that icy hatred around our throat. She was the spit in our face today. Potter made a mistake. Yeah, we have a sentencing guideline for this kind of mistake. It's called 6 to 8 years. Why did she get 2 years? Somebody needs to answer me why she got 2 years. And of course, we all know why she got 2 years.
Yeah.
Because she was a crying white.
Kim Porter, of course, charged with manslaughter in the accidental shooting of Daunte Wright, where she thought that she drew her taser but accidentally drew her pistol. Well, she received a lenient sentence from the judge. In my opinion, rightfully so. But once again, it's not enough for these vile figures in the media who want to destroy people's lives in what seems to be racial vengeance. Was it a tragic mistake? Absolutely. But should you respond to a tragic mistake with the destruction of somebody's life? Somebody with no criminal history whatsoever. Somebody who clearly just made a mistake in a high-intensity, emotional, adrenaline-fueled situation? Absolutely not. And then should you take that situation, manipulate it, and use it to stoke division and pour fuel on the flames of an already hot nation? Once again, I think it's just wrong. If you have an issue and an activist agenda in relation to legal injustice for a particular group of people, well, advocating for injustice for another group clearly isn't the answer, but that's exactly what we are seeing from these vile, vindictive Democrats who masquerade as journalists and media experts. It's wrong and the defamation must stop. But it seems as though we are headed towards an era of accountability, and you gotta love it. That's what I got for you guys though. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to leave a like, a comment, subscribe, share it as much as possible. We are still shadow banned with the YouTube algorithm, hidden from non-subscribed viewers. I'm gonna get back to work though. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.